Draft kind of had a double-pronged effect for you. First of all, Dzierwa goes about where you expected, or is that impossible to predict?
Well, I think both. I think the draft, first of all, is impossible to predict, and I think we saw it last night with the first pick, and all the high school guys that I think were picked in the first round and picked so high. So we kind of had an idea that it may be late first, early second round, but I think even the guys in the room don't know at that point. So just kind of sat there and waited, anticipated, and really excited when we saw Joe's name pop up there.
I was listening to the draft on the radio coming in. I must have heard 12 shortstops go in the first round.
Well, it's and I think the shortstops are usually the most athletic guys, and so kind of what we do with high school kids, I think pro guys do with some of our guys. They draft a lot of shortstops, and with the idea that they can move them around if they need to second base or somewhere in the outfield, third base, and so those guys are usually athletic enough to be pretty versatile.
Dzierwa, I know it's impossible to predict progress. I think Mashevitz signed his 15th contract the other day, and he's still hanging around. It's impossible to predict his pro path, or if he'll even make it, isn't it?
It is. I wouldn't bet against him, though. I mean, I really think he's going to pitch in the big league someday. And at the same time, you have to stay healthy first and foremost. You got to be with the right organization. And there's a lot of things that have to kind of fall into place. But I do think that Joe will pitch in the big league someday, and I think he's got an opportunity, if he can stay healthy, to have a really nice career.
Have you talked to him?
I talked to him last night. He's excited. Obviously, things are moving at 1,000 miles an hour for him. So we talked for about a minute and a half probably, and was just really excited for him, and excited to hear what happens next.
Where did he watch the draft? Do you know?
He was at home with his family.
At home in
Ohio.
In Ohio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did he sound excited?
Yeah, well, Joe doesn't give you a whole lot in that regard. I think, I mean, as excited as Joe can get, yes, he was excited. He was, had some family members there, and his agent was there, and that's kind of how we found out, and was paying attention to the draft. But as soon as you hear your name call, you kind of lose sight of everything else after that.
What's the it factor on him that the Orioles are getting, if you can outline that?
Well, he's just very passionate about what he does and how he does it. I mean, he's very methodical in his approach. His work ethic is off the charts. He looks for the next thing. He's always looking for ways to improve. And I think that carried over to school. He was an academic All-American here. It carried over to how he got after in the weight room, the weight that he was able to gain while he was here. He probably gained close to 40 pounds while he was here, and so I think all of that speaks to who Joe is, and that also carries over to the mound in the bullpen sessions, and then attacking hitters and different ways to get hitters out. I mean, he is fully invested in everything that he does.
Ironically, same team as your nephew, right?
Yeah, my nephew Ike Irish was picked with the 19th pick overall by the Orioles too. So pretty cool moment for our family. Last night my dad was down in Atlanta where my sister and her family live, and so he got a chance to experience that with them. And yeah, just a really cool moment to think of. That kid just as a little 2-year-old running around causing all kinds of havoc, and now he's a 19th pick in the draft. Pretty cool.
So is that your sister's?
My sister's son, yeah. Yeah.
So you've been in touch with him his whole life?
Yeah, for sure. They lived in Hudsonville for a long time, and he ended up transferring to Orchard Lake St. Mary's to finish his high school career, and then obviously went to Auburn, and so my sister and her family moved to Atlanta when he started at Auburn. I
understand he won't be a catcher even though he's drafted as a catcher, is that right?
I think that's the case, yeah. I mean, he's versatile enough to do kind of either one, and they drafted a catcher right after him, a kid that's a pretty good one from Coastal Carolina, so we'll see how it shakes out. I mean, every team's got more than one catcher, and so I think the bottom line is if you hit, you're going to play somewhere, and that kid can hit. So
was it a fun night for you watching the draft, given the interest you had in these two?
It was, yeah, it was for sure. I mean, more fun than normal, because obviously with a family member in the mix, really excited for him, and for my sister and her family, and then with Joe having the opportunity to go so high, it was a fun night to watch the draft for sure.